Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, let's do a quick 90-day review. We're going to look at temperature and precipitation and start with precipitation. So, the two maps you're looking at here, the one on the left shows you April 24th through July 24th, percent of normal precipitation, and the one on the right shows you the number of days where there was at least a quarter inch of rainfall over the same 91 day period. So when you look at this, just real quick, let's start on the one on the right here. What we're going to see here is that when you get to about this yellowy color here, we're talking about 15 days of rain in a 90-day time period. Now, when I look at both of these maps put together, we're able to highlight some regions that there have been some stresses. And so some of those areas, of course, have been parts of Missouri and eastern Kansas. We can see a little section here through parts of Illinois that's been a little bit behind on precip, southern Minnesota, parts of Indiana, and then, of course, this region right up in here and parts of South Dakota. So when we look across the Corn Belt, we're trying to identify where there are great conditions and where there are conditions that might be a little stressed. We see that. We also see a lot of places that have had a lot of precipitation. We can maybe see that better over in this map, where we look over here and see that a big section of Nebraska, Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin show a wet anomaly over the last 90 days. And, of course, the farther west you go into Nebraska, it looks wet as well. It's also been wet down in Tennessee and Kentucky, and then certainly wet down here where we've had a lot of flow out of the Gulf of Mexico along the east coast there in the southeast. Again, drier conditions. We can just kind of paint a picture of where we saw that drought move from here early in the season toward the east. So this has really been kind of the flow pattern we've dealt with for much of the last 90 days in terms of precipitation. Feel free to pause the video and take a closer look here at the picture that's over here on the right-hand side, talking about the number of days with a quarter-inch rainfall or more. All right, let's go from there and let's talk about Drought Monitor. So it's no surprise where we've seen the improvement in the drought and where we've seen drought getting worse over the last 3 months. And certainly it's going to be this section in eastern Texas getting up into Missouri that we've really seen the decrease, the degradation in drought. We've also got some stuff going on here in parts of Indiana, parts of Michigan, and parts of South Dakota. But overall, when you look at this, we don't see major drought occupying a large section of the Corn Belt. So we'll get a new drought monitor update later in the day on Thursday. Coming to temperatures, we know that this season's been fast. We know that we are 2.5, maybe more than that, weeks ahead of normal because of the rate at which we accumulated growing degree days. So you can see that in the map that's at the top, showed it to you a bunch of times. But let's look at the differences between this year, which is 2018, shown to you down here in the bottom. So looking at temperature anomalies, where's it been warm? In the places we've had some stress, like in Missouri and Kansas. A lot of the Corn Belt, though, has enjoyed near average weather through much of pollination. It's a stark difference between that and 2012, and it's funny, now that I look at this, do you all see kind of like a face right here? I see all these heat anomalies giving us this big smiley face, which I guess was saying screw you in 2012. But I've also heard a lot of folks talking about, and I've kind of talked about how 2010 may be an analog year, but it's showing that, July has been quite different from 2018, at least where our temperature anomalies have really been set up. So that year is really not showing up well as an analog much anymore. But what we just saw here is most of our growing season, and so what we care about now is how are things setting up into August? Are we going to have a long grain fill time period? And what is it really shaping up in terms of temperature and moisture characteristics? So let's get there, okay? We really want to start this off by watching the current flow right now. So this is all day on Wednesday, and this is going to show you the big feature. So I'll pause it real quick. First, big Bermuda high pumping a bunch of moisture up the east coast. We'll take a look at that in a second. We have a low that's spinning here in Canada, draping a cold front, bringing in some strong to severe storms across the Great Plains and the Midwest, Great Lakes states on Wednesday. That's pushing this direction by the time we get into Thursday. That boundary that this is on is going to linger right here in the Great Plains. This area I'm circling for several days, so it's going to be wet here over the coming days. We've been absolutely scorched from Texas all the way to California and up the west coast. You're going to be able to see the fires breaking out. You'll see their smoke plumes down here in California, plus the eruption of the monsoon as I continue to play this out. So here we go. Here you go. You can see the storms coming in through here. You can see our smoke plume. See it right there in California. Look at the southwestern monsoon setting on the setting sun here. And that's our setup. This is how things have been going. All right. Now, just to show you those fires in California, look at the fires in Northern California and in Southern California. So conditions here getting smoky, incredible heat. We're talking, well into the triple digits here, stretching from Texas all the way to California. Oh, and by the way, check this out. some von Karman eddies down here, or vortices, right here on this little island that sticks up in the Pacific. Can you see how it kind of swirls around it? Sorry, that's just a cool thing to be looking at here. All right, so that's it. This is how things look. Last 72 hours of precipitation. Well, as we discussed, we knew that the center part of the Corn Belt was going to be relatively dry, so that panned out well. We know that all the moisture is pumping up the East Coast. Look at this. We've had some locations getting well over 6, 8, maybe 10 inches of rain in some of the coastal locations. A lot of thunderstorm activity. We can see the southwestern monsoon going, and this is going to be an area over the next 5 days we're going to watch right in through here for a pretty persistent chance of storms. Now, the front that's right now draped in this area, bringing storms on Wednesday night, is going to push in through parts of Illinois and Indiana, but our question is it going to have enough moisture in it to be bringing some thunderstorms, and is the timing going to be right? So let's get to it, okay? On Thursday, the Storm Prediction Center is watching that boundary, which is going to stretch right in through here to be the focal point for the potential for any thunderstorms. And so again, we got our low spinning off in this direction, so that'll be the lifting mechanism, and that pushes on to the east by the time we get into Friday. So this goes through pretty far south around much of the Corn Belt, but the boundary is going to linger right in this area, providing a constant trigger with some Gulf moisture coming in this direction. And then we're going to watch the development of a low pressure system right in through here, getting into the weekend that might move across parts of the Corn Belt, giving us a chance of rain. So this is your setup as we end this week. Now here's it all put together. Both maps at the bottom show you the next 5 days of precipitation, total accumulation, from the European model on the left and the U.S. model, the GFS, on the right. And they do have some differences, so let's pay attention to them. One, as I mentioned, we have that lingering boundary that's going to be sitting right in through this area, right in through there. You add Gulf moisture to that, we're going to be watching this area for a lot of showers and thunderstorm development. And then the low is going to develop there and inject out here into the Midwest. Now the Midwest, we have the front that's going to try to come through on Thursday, possibly bringing in the chance of showers and storms in this area. I'm circling in through here on the day on Thursday. Right now, it's a really tricky forecast because of the timing of the front. So there may be a section that gets missed during the day on Thursday, with it blowing up farther to the south and east later on in the afternoon. Then we have the short wave that comes riding out of here in Montana, helping to develop this low, and it goes right in through this area. And that's why you see both models trying to put some precipitation down into parts of Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana. And we would really like to see this. That would really just cap off what has been overall a decent July for a lot of folks. I wrote down here, no love for those Missouri farmers. So look at both models. I'm going to erase my drawings here. Both of them have Missouri through the next 5 days. This little section in through here kind of missing out. There's a saying in atmospheric sciences, whenever there's drought, we say all signs fail in the time of drought. The atmosphere is dry there, and it's going to take a lot to overcome that to bring in precipitation. I'm hoping that the models have missed it and that we're going to be bringing some precipitation in there, but we're going to have to watch it day by day to see how it all fans out. Secondly, and lastly, I should say, the Bermuda High still cranking up here, so we're still expecting more precipitation there along the East Coast. So this is your next 5 days, kind of getting you through the weekend and looking at total precipitation. We'll look longer term in just a few seconds. But it's all about the pattern this time of year. We've been talking about how this ridge has been retreating west, hence all of the heat from Texas to the Pacific Northwest, while general troughing has happened here basically from Montana all the way down to the southeast, keeping things cool. Watch the evolution of this pattern, though, as we go out for the next 15 days. We certainly see that things for at least the next 10 days, let's take you all the way out here to about 10 days there, are going to stay in that same configuration. But what we're watching is, we're watching the retreat of some cooler air that's going to go right up here and sit and spin over the Arctic. And that's going to allow for a ridge to build up the East Coast. Now the question is, how far west do we see the influence of this ridge along the East Coast bringing in heat back into the Corn Belt? That's the ultimate concern. Because as we continue to play this out, we kind of see that ridge at times, once we get past the first few days of August, maybe impacting, the eastern part of the Corn Belt. But as we let it go all the way out, yeah, the model washes things out quite a bit. But if we end up getting this pattern where the ridge gets established here, I'm going to tell you something. The Gulf will be wide open. We could get some northwest flow, and with the evapotranspiration coming off the corn and soybean crop as we get into August, we're going to be really cranking up humidity here in the middle part of the country country, which means a lot of hit or miss thunderstorms for this area, which is not going to be reflected well in the model's forecast for precipitation. But before we get there, let's take a look at what it's saying in terms of temperatures. So same idea here. We're looking at 5-day averages, though, to kind of smooth this out. Because of the presence of those troughs, see the cooler weather, as the ridge builds in, we see that by the time we get into the first week of August, really talking about maybe after the 3rd or 4th or 5th, we start to see the warm anomalies return. Now, am I scared here about incredible heat, 100-degree heat? No, I'm not. I'm not seeing that yet. We're just looking at the overall flow pattern. But I will say this, the Gulf is going to open back up. Add that to the evapotranspiration. We're going to be bringing a lot of moisture into this area, so it could be seeing a lot of hit or miss storms. So I'll be watching that. I'll keep you updated. Like we always do, we only look out about 5 days for precipitation totals because, you know, the models beyond about that time period are going to miss a lot of bigger events just because of how hyperlocal precipitation is. But we will do this. We're going to take a quick look at what the European model is looking at in terms of its 15-day precipitation anomaly. And we really see here that a big section of the Corn Belt right in through there, because of the lack of any major weather systems coming through in the next few days, does look to be near average or maybe slightly drier than average. Thanks to that lingering boundary and the Gulf moisture pumping into this part of the country, it looks wetter than average. That's mostly a result of the wetter than average conditions that are there right now. And then again, the big Bermuda high out here cranking up that moisture along the East Coast, still going there. All right, that's it. That's your picture over the next 15 days or so, and I think that's it's an important one to paint because it is going to show you a little bit of a pattern shift over what we've had. The end of July has been nice and cool, and we're going to be seeing a bit of a pattern shift once we get past the first few days of August. I want to bring one last thing to your attention, just talking about Europe here. They got a pattern set up that over the next 10 to maybe 15 days are going to be favoring a lot of heat building into France, Germany, Spain, you know, this section of Europe right in through here. With that, I want you to see something. So the Black Sea is right there. Because of this setup, look, the eastern part of the Black Sea, let's try that again. The western part of the Black Sea region over here is forecast to be seeing wetter than average conditions getting us through the next 10 to 15 days. And now for Greece, this is great due to the massive fires that are going there. But if we're talking about ag, you know, this is a section we really want to be paying attention to. So this is Ukraine, this is Russia, and this is Kazakhstan. And we have some spotty regions of drought in there. It's certainly going to be dry in parts of France and Germany and nearby countries, simply given the heat that's going to be building in there, and they're already in drought. So I wanted to bring your attention to some stuff I'm watching over in Europe as well. But that was a lot. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. And I want to thank you for watching this week's video. So we hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Monday. Head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. I look forward to talking to you again after the weekend.